It has been a record-breaking week for Crowcoin as more and more of this altcoin continues to be burned and removed from the supply completely. And we have now seen a record amount of this altcoin being staked on chain for passive income, effectively jumping from 6.8 billion Crow staked up to over 9 billion Crow overnight. Now, unfortunately, with this increase in the amount of Crow staked has been a reduction in the annual yield from 7.5% down to under 6%. The Crypto.com team has come up with a proposal to once again increase the staking yield, and in today's video we are going to break down exactly what this means for you if you are staking your Crowcoin for that passive income. Now, before we hop into the content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do find the videos informative and or entertaining, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turn that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of our latest videos go live. And with that, we're going to hop right into today's content. We have been covering Crowcoin quite a bit this week on the channel, but I mean, between the record burns and that massive spike in Crowcoin being staked overnight, there has been a lot to talk about with this altcoin. So if you do want to learn more about exactly why a record amount of Crow was basically staked, jumping up from 6.8 bill up to over 9 billion, effectively between January 14th and today, then do feel free to check out yesterday's video on the channel where we break that all down. Today, I want to more so talk about the consequences of this record amount of Crow being locked up on the Cronos POS chain, and that has been a massive reduction in the annual yield, effectively dropping from 7.5%, now currently sitting at 5.97%, and we can actually verify this on the Cronos POS chain if we take a look. It's actually inaccurate, okay? It's now coming in at about 5.68% maximum. So basically from 7.5% down to 5.5% annually overnight. And, people are not happy about this, right? If you had 10,000 Crow staked, you were going to be earning 750 Crowcoin per year additionally a couple of days back, and that will now be reduced to about 550. And obviously, people are not happy about this. Now, we spoke yesterday a little bit about this and what I thought personally, and I said that there's really two ways to look at it, right? So this massive jump in the amount of Crowcoin being staked also results in more Crowcoin effectively being removed from the buying and selling markets, not actively in the float, and this staking ratio has increased drastically, now sitting at about 30%. So effectively 1/3 of Crow that is circulating is not really in the buying and selling markets. It is removed from this buying and selling, basically kind of removing the buying and selling pressure for 1/3 of the flow, which in my opinion is bullish for this altcoin and for any altcoin. I think the higher the staking ratio, the better. And when it comes to Crowcoin specifically, I do think that holds even more true just because of the mechanics of the Cronos POS chain. So the way this chain works is when you actually lock up your Crow on the Cronos POS chain, if you want to get it back, if you want to unstake it, it is subject to a 28-day unbonding period. And what this means is, it's pretty safe to assume, I think, that most people that are actually staking their Crow on the Cronos POS chain are long-term holders. Crypto is very volatile. Stuff can change in a day when it comes to crypto. So I don't think anybody who is trading or here for a quick buck would be locking it up and getting that passive income subject to a 28-day unbonding period. So I do think that when it comes to the Cronos POS chain, actually looking at the staked ratio is a pretty valuable metric in my opinion. And yeah, we now officially have 1/3 of that out of the float. And while it does fare better for the long-term holders and the price action, in my opinion, the same cannot be said about the yield, which is what most people are kind of worried about right now. So I do want to talk about this new, this new governance proposal that is attempting to be passed by the Cronos POS team, and they are proposing to increase target bonded ratio and optimize Crow incentives. So we're going to break this down step by step and exactly what this will mean for Crowcoin and the tokenomics. as we observe new developments on the Kronos POS chain, its token economics should also continuously adapt and evolve. A recent governance discussion on GitHub activates for a strategic parameter adjustment aiming at bolstering the chain's target staking ratio, a key parameter of network robustness for Kronos POS. So the initiative seeks to strengthen Crow incentives for delegators and validators through higher annual percentage rates, thereby encouraging a more substantial commitment to the network's economic security. But how does the mechanism work, and what implications might it have in relation to the previously passed community burn proposal? And that's what we were referring to earlier when we were talking about the millions of Crow coin that is being burned. So in 2023, we saw a clear rise in Crow staking participation on the Kronos POS chain. The total amount staked has increased more than 70% from around 5 billion at the beginning of 2023 to 8.5 plus billion at the time of writing. That is now over 9 billion. The rise in staking has led to a decrease of the staking APR, falling from nearly 12% at the beginning of 2023, now down to about 5.5% as of today. The Kronos POS chain operates on the Cosmos SDK, adhering to an inflation schedule governed by the Mint module, and this module is responsible for determining the quantity of new Crow tokens distributed to validators per block. So basically, this is the critical module. The module here being described is really about the inflation rate of Crow, the amount of this altcoin being released. So the staking APR is influenced by two primary factors. The first is the Mint module we just discussed. The second is the staking bonding ratio. The higher number of staked Crow tokens, the more recipients there are for rewards, which in turn dilutes the APR for each participant. So we've spoken about this inverse correlation before, effectively meaning that the more Crow is staked, the more the rewards go down, and that is because of basically you're just sharing these rewards with more people now. You are sharing more of the pie with other people. So why would we need a higher staking APR? So to maintain a competitive and fair incentive for staking delegation, thereby enhancing the network security, staking APR is crucial for a chain like Kronos POS. It serves as a key motivator for users to engage with the network, enhancing its stability. A high total staking amount relative to the total Crow supply signifies a substantial commitment from Crow holders to the security and governance of the blockchain. Honestly, I would argue that majority of people are just looking for a yield, but I digress. It's not important right now. For perspective, examining other Layer 1 blockchains reveals their staking ratios typically exceed 50%. So Solana is up at 68%, Polkadot has 58%, Cosmos stands at 63%, and Osmosis stands at 53%. And we can actually confirm that here, right? If we take a look at staking rewards, Solana does have that 66% staking ratio, Cardano 64%, Sui 82%, Aptos 84%, AVAX 55%, and the list goes on. Ether is actually only at 23%, but I think that's because they didn't really have withdrawals unlocked until last year. So as we move forward, a continued increase in staking participation is anticipated, especially with the growing popularity of liquid staking. Vano Finance is a leading liquid staking protocol on Kronos, and it has drawn over 110 mil Crow into staking. So how does the new mechanism actually work? This is what we want to talk about now. So to grasp how the proposed changes will impact the Kronos POS chain, it is essential to understand three key parameters. Number one is the inflation max parameter, which sets the upper limit of the inflation rate. Currently, it is set at 2.5%, determining the highest possible annual increase in the total Crow supply. The inflation rate change parameter dictates the maximum annual change in the inflation rate. It is influenced by how the current bonding ratio compares to the goal bonded parameter, now sitting at 0.6%. And the goal bonded parameter basically indicates the desired staking ratio for the Kronos POS chain, currently sitting at 30%, which we have now breached above. So the network's inflation rate adjusts in response to this target. If the actual staking rate ratio is below the goal, the inflation rate will increase up to the inflation max. Now, conversely, if the staking ratio exceeds the goal, the inflation rate will decrease to slow the amount of CRO coin being circulated. Now, what they are looking to do is basically lift this cap to make sure that the amount of CRO circulating is not slowed down, which will in turn increase the yield being offered as more CRO is being given to validators and then to delegators after, validators take their rewards. So here are the proposed adjustments. Raising the cap on inflation from 0.025 to 0.037. So raising the inflation cap from 2.5% up to 3.7%. The inflation rate change up from 0.6% to 1%. And remember, the inflation rate change is dictates the maximum annual change in the inflation rate, influenced by how the bonding ratio compares to the goal bonded. And the goal bonded is increased from 30% to 60%. So because the bonding ratio has exceeded the goal bonded 30% threshold, the decrease in inflation rate has been a result of this, causing a downward effect on the staking APR. The proposed changes aim to recalibrate the dynamics to ensure a fair and sustainable incentive system for all network participants. These adjustments introduced a blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, these modifications are intended to increase CRO emissions for validators by stabilizing the staking APR. Now, what does this mean for the community burn? This is a big one in my opinion. This is the one that I was kind of looking at because, the community burn is something we spoke about a lot when that proposal was launched. I do like the fact that CRO coin is being burned. I do wish more could be burned to, take some out of the float. However, an increased inflation is kind of working against that. So it's important to recognize that its impact on the declining staking APR was minimal. This is the community burn. The decrease in APR can largely be attributed to an increased bonding ratio from a surge in network staking participation. In the context of the Cronos POS chain's tokenomics, envision a water faucet where the flow represents the CRO tokens being emitted. The faucet's flow is set at a certain rate by the mint module, and the community burn mechanism determines the allocation of the flow. Specifically, 15% of CRO emissions are burned, 85% go to validators. This new proposal doesn't alter the existing community burn mechanism. Instead, it's like adjusting the faucet to increase the water flow. And the change doesn't impact how the water is divided, but rather increases the total amount available, regulating the emission rate, effectively determining how much and how quickly tokens are introduced into the system. So therefore, these mechanisms operate in tandem, but affect different aspects of the tokenomics. One controls the overall emission rate, while the other manages redistribution. So I understand this. I understand what they're saying. However, the one thing that we do have to kind of be aware of, right? And this is just, facts. This is not opinion. The matter of fact is we now have more CRO coin coming into emissions, right? And the way this was set up originally was that 85% was going to validators and 15% was going to the burn wallet. This effectively means that while, yes, more CRO coin will actually be burned now because more is going to be emitted, even more of that CRO is going to be handed out, therefore further increasing the inflation rate. If CRO emissions and community pool burn were at a 50-50 split, then it would not matter because an equal amount of this increase would be going to the CRO emissions that would be going to the burn pool. However, because the burn pool only gets 15% of all CRO emitted, there is going to be a lot more CRO going out to validators. Basically more CRO is going to be going out to validators if this upgrade or if this proposal does pass, then will be going into the burn wallet. And it does look pretty likely that this will indeed pass. So we are going to keep you guys updated on what exactly is going on with this proposal. As always, I hope you enjoyed the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.